Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Ghostbusters is a franchise that has seen some really high highs and some really low lows. So my expectations for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire weren't really set at all. I was going into that theater with a completely clear mind, ready to be swept up in whatever journey the Ghostbusters world was about to take me on. And I'm happy to say that it was definitely a journey. Whether it was a good one or a bad one is completely up to the viewer. So let's get into it. Spoiler warning, of course, if you haven't seen the movie. The film opens up to New York City in 1904, so a full 80 years before the events of the first Ghostbusters movie. And it's just a quick reveal of a room full of wealthy people that have all been frozen to death, along with this strange brass orb. This orb is containing a ghost by the name of Garaka. The movie then cuts to our modern day crew in the Ecto-1 as they chase a sewer ghost through New York City. Everything about this scene was awesome. We got to see the Ecto-1 in action in New York City, and the Ghostbusters firing their proton packs through the city was just everything that you'd want to see in a Ghostbusters movie. If only it could keep this momentum up the entire film. Basically, Phoebe Spangler is cut from the Ghostbusters because she's too young and reckless. The family all live in the original Ghostbusters fire hall and do this all for a living, I believe. Walter Peck from the original Ghostbusters movie is also now the mayor of New York City, and he's still fully bent on shutting the Ghostbusters down for good. He is the reason that Phoebe has to be benched from the Ghostbusters. This is the point in the film where we finally get to see Dan Aykroyd. Him and Podcast have a podcast together, and it's awesome to see Dan Aykroyd back in these movies. He gets so much screen time in this film, and he genuinely looks happy to be here. His character Ray Stantz is running a spooky pawn shop for haunted items, which is how he comes across that orb from the beginning of the movie. It's brought to him by Kumail Nanjiani's character Nadeem, who is also the fire master. We'll get into that later. Paul Rudd's character struggles to put the sewer ghost that they caught into the ecto containment unit because it's literally getting too full of ghosts. We then learned that Winston Zeddemore actually had a second ghostbusting facility in the city, and it's full of state-of-the-art devices and testing equipment, along with some of the captured ghosts that live in cells made out of proton beams. This is where we meet a character named Lars. He is like a tech guy on the Ghostbusters crew, and I actually really liked his character. Fast forward a bit, and we get to Stantz back at the library from the original movie doing some research on the orb. This is where our crew learned that the ghost in the orb is named Garaka, and the reason he freezes you to death is explained because he's supposed to be that cold shiver that runs down your spine when you're scared. Which is cool, but that's not quite enough to base the entire movie's theme around. Later in the library scene, we get to see the ghost from the first movie, which was super nice. And while all of this is happening, Phoebe is still benched from the Ghostbusters. So naturally, she is sad and lonely, and she starts to play chess with a ghost. We're led to believe that this is her grandfather again, but it's actually a girl named Melody who died in a fire. This is where I can see a lot of people being upset at the film. Phoebe starts to develop a relationship with Melody, which is cool and everything, but because they're both underage and one's literally a dead person, this romance-ish relationship is just kind of weird and uncomfortable. It's a bit creepy to watch. Melody then tricks Phoebe into temporarily leaving her body by removing her soul for 2 minutes, and they accomplish this by breaking into Winston's second facility, where there is millions of dollars worth of literal ghosts trapped in cages. There's apparently nobody there to stop them, and they just left the doors unlocked, I guess. So in an extremely obvious plot twist, Melody was working for Garaka the entire time, and now Garaka can possess Phoebe for only 2 minutes. This is enough time for Garaka to finally free himself from the brass orb. So Garaka gets free and instantly starts to freeze New York and free the other ghosts. In the big finale of the film, Garaka is attacking the fire hall with his ice breath, and the Ghostbusters all suit up to stop him. Normal proton beams don't work, however, but good thing they have the Fire Master. Yeah, remember Nadeem from earlier? Well, his family is basically the ancient protectors of the orb, which apparently means he has the literal power to control fire. He's like Pyro from the X-Men. So Nadeem starts to fire blast him for long enough for the Ghostbusters to reverse the ecto containment unit and suck Garaka back down to the underworld. The city applauds them as heroes, and the movie ends with that iconic Ghostbusters theme. There, now that you're all caught up, I'll get into what I liked and disliked about the film. For starters, I really loved how enthusiastic the OG Ghostbusters were to be here. You can tell Dan Aykroyd is having so much fun being back, and there's even a line in the movie where he just says, "This is how I want to spend my time," which is just perfect for him. I also quite enjoyed the fun side story with Slimer and Finn Wolfhard's character Trevor as he tries to evict Slimer from his attic. He's so good in this, it's a shame he didn't get more time on screen. The sound and visuals were also some of the best we've seen from the Ghostbusters franchise. It's a visually very stunning film. All the fun scenes with the library and the lion statue, along with the Ecto-1 scenes, are just super great and everything that you would expect from Ghostbusters. And now for the things that I wasn't really a fan of. The entire side plot with Phoebe and Melody I thought was particularly uninteresting. I feel like Phoebe was tricked way too easily and is too smart to fall for Melody's manipulation like that. The family dynamic between Paul Rudd and the kids is also particularly stale when compared to the last movie. It does get better at the end, but leading up to that point, it's really a bit weak. You can just go ahead and check Giant Skybeam off the list also. And the Fire Master. I don't have enough time to rant about this, but the Fire Master I thought was a particularly stupid addition to the lore, and that goes with the entire ice theme, which I thought just wasn't strong enough for an entire movie. And possibly my biggest gripe with this film is simply the lack of ghosts. I think the Ghostbusters literally only answer one ghost call, and it was for Melody anyways. The final battle was very underwhelming and anticlimactic, as in we really don't see much of any other ghosts at the end. It's just Garaka, and he goes down relatively easily considering how much he was hyped up during this movie. All in all, if I had to give it a rating, I would probably give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is higher than most considering I had a really fun time nonetheless, and I don't regret spending the admission fee. It's a really fun movie that you can definitely watch with your family or a group of friends. Anyways, that's about it for this review. What did you guys think of the film? Did it live up to your expectations or did it fall short? Make sure to let me know in the comment section down below, and if you guys like this kind of stuff, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more movie-based content. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.